Hello Year 1, this is Mr. Smith and this is your literacy lesson for Monday the 1st of February. This slide will carry on for Tuesday and Wednesday's literacy lesson as well. First thing to do is to ask you if you can remember where your capital letters and your full stops go. Make sure you've got a capital letter at the start of a sentence and a full stop at the end. Can you remember anywhere else you use a capital letter? That's right. Somebody's name in a sentence also gets a capital letter. Red and orange group, can you think of conjunctions you could use to join two shorter sentences? Like and. Try and include that in your sentences today to improve your writing. Okay, you have all been looking at Jack and the Beanstalks, or Jack and the Beanstalk, and you should be an expert now in the story. You have told the story, you've mapped the story, you've sequenced it in order, some of you have performed it, and you've discussed it. Today, we're going to start to write the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Can you remember all the parts of the story? Can you remember the characters in the story? And can you remember the events that happened to them? Those are all the things you're going to need to remember. You're going to be writing a story for the Sheffield Library Service so that you could put your story on the shelves in the library for other boys and girls to read the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Can you remember some of the key features? Tell your parent now things you can remember about Jack and the Beanstalk. Here's one that I've done myself. I've included this sentence starter sheet for you to give you some ideas. Once upon a time, one day, that night, suddenly, in the end. These are different ways you can start your sentences. Let's read what I've written. See if you can identify each sentence starter as I've used it. Once upon a time, there lived a little boy called Jack who lived with his mother. One day, Jack sold his cow for magic beans. That night, the beans grew into a beanstalk. Jack climbed the beanstalk and found a hen that laid golden eggs. Suddenly, the giant chased Jack down the beanstalk. Is there any parts of my story that you like? Or any parts you think I've done well? Let's have a look at it before we move on. At the start of each sentence, I've used sentence starters. Once upon a time. One day. That night. Suddenly. This means each sentence starts differently from every other sentence and helps your story to have interest. Have I remembered my capital letters at the start of a sentence? Yes. Have I remembered full stops at the end of a sentence? Yes. Have I included other capital letters for somebody's name? Jack. Jack. I've also included a sentence that has used a conjunctive. And. Jack climbed the beanstalk and found a hen that laid golden eggs. Can you try now to say some sentences you would write to your parent? Think about the sentence starter, think about a conjunctive, and think about some of the things you know that's happened. Just try one or two sentences now to help you remember. So our skill this week is to write a story. Can you say your story? Can you include the characters in the story, can you write what happens? And can those events be in order? Can you remember to punctuate with capital letter and full stop? And then can you read back your work? Don't forget that this is going to be for the next 3 days, so this will not all need to be finished today. On Monday, I would like you to try writing the first part of the story. So let's think about our sentence starters, and let's think about some of the details from the story. I've included a word map up here to help you remember. Let's write some sentences together. I will start with my first sentence starter, once upon a time. How will you start your sentence? What will happen? Once upon a time, who was there? Where were they? What happened to them? Once upon a time, Jack, remember a capital letter for his name, lived with his mother. Were they rich people or poor people? Did they own any animals? What did they do? Jack owned a cow. They were very poor. What did they need to do with the cow because they were poor? They had to sell it. So Jack took his cow to sell it. Did he get any money for it? No, he swapped it for the magic beans. Jack sold his cow for magic beans. Do you think his mother was happy? Do you think she was sad? Do you think she was angry? What did she do with the beans? Jack's mother threw the beans out of the window. Let's use another sentence starter. That night. That night. What happened? Can you remember? The beanstalk. The beans grew into a beanstalk. What happened next? What did Jack do? That's right, he climbed the beanstalk and he found the giant's house and he had some adventures. On Monday, I would like you to have written your story up to the point of Jack climbing the beanstalk. Try and think about some of the details that he did, the things that happened, his cow, his mother, the magic beans, the beanstalk, and what he saw. Tomorrow, Tuesday, I would like you to write the rest of the story. This will be from Tuesday. So he has sold his cow, he swapped for magic beans, the beanstalk has grown in his garden, and he's climbed up. What happens next? Jack saw a castle. What did he do? Did he just look at it? Did he explore it? Jack entered and saw. What did he see inside? A hen that laid golden eggs. Jack took the hen and ran back to the beanstalk. I've used a conjunctive in that sentence, and I'm going to use another sentence starter now. Suddenly. Suddenly, the giant woke up and chased Jack down the beanstalk. Can you remember how the story ends? Use our last sentence starter. In the end. In the end, Jack's mother brought him an axe and Jack chopped down the beanstalk. And they both lived happily ever after. By Tuesday, I would like you to have finished writing your story. Don't worry if you haven't completed it. You can still spend some time on Wednesday finishing it off if you need. And you can listen to this video again for Mondays or for Tuesdays lessons. You should have got in your book these sheets to help you write the story. They're split into 6 sections with pictures at each to help guide you through the different parts of the story. Don't forget about your sentence starters either, and your word map for some of the key words. I want you to spend Monday and Tuesday writing the story, and if you've finished on Wednesday, I would like you to do a cover sheet for your story about Jack and the Beanstalk. If you've not finished your writing, you can finish it on Wednesday too. I really look forward to seeing all your stories next week when you've completed them. Have a good week, Year 1. Goodbye.